Thanks for joining me on episode 1188 of the Inspired Stewardship Podcast.
I'm Tom Herman. I challenge you to invest in yourself, invest in others, develop your influence, and impact the world by using your time, your talent, and your treasures to live out your calling. Having the ability to discover your unique God-given purpose is key, and one way to be inspired to do that is to listen to this, the Inspired Stewardship Podcast with my friend Scott Mader.
Not about doing more things, it's about doing the right things. That's a shift in our thinking. It's about recognizing that it's not about the destination, it's not about the journey, it's about both. That shift in thinking is how I encourage people to find more balance and more harmony.
Welcome and thank you for joining us on the Inspired Stewardship Podcast. If you truly desire to become the person who God wants you to be, then you must learn to use your time, your talent, and your treasures for your true calling. In the Inspired Stewardship Podcast, you will learn to invest in yourself, invest in others, and develop your influence so that you can impact the world.
In today's episode about developing your influence by stewarding your time, I talk with you about how success is not only about the goal, but the journey. I share why all too often folks confuse success with the emotion that they're after. And I also talk about how you can shift your thinking to find more balance and harmony in your life.
As we talk about stewarding your time, wouldn't it be great if you could support this podcast and do it without just taking too long? Turns out you can. All you have to do is use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon when you're ready to make a purchase via Amazon, and a small commission will come back to support the show just that quick. If you enjoy the show when you are ready to buy from Amazon, just use inspiredstewardship.com/Amazon.
Often when people start thinking about success or being more successful, they begin to think about how much more they have to do, all of the things that they have to do, how they have to do more. It's all about adding to our plate, not looking at what's there and what really belongs and what doesn't. See, all too often we focus on just the goal. What is it that we want to achieve? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan of setting goals. I think goals are really important. And I'm a huge fan of doing things, taking action, getting stuff done. Both of those things, I think, are very important to achieving success. Knowing that you've got something that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, like a goal, something that you can achieve and check off the list, so to speak, I think helps us move forward and take action. And I think taking action is what generates results. But one of the things that I have to challenge folks about and step back, and this is again an example of a both and, not an either or. You have to be able to set goals, but as well, you have to understand that the journey is so important as well. Now, I hate that cliche. It's not about the destination. It's about the journey. Now, the truth is, no, that's bull. It is about the destination, but it's also about the journey. It's about both. It's not about one over the other. It's about valuing what's happening while you're going there. It's about learning to enjoy and think and relate to things during the process and enjoying the process, not just looking at the destination. See, what often happens is we confuse the emotion that we're after, the freedom, the flexibility, the ability to do what we choose, with the goal. When I have $1 million in the bank, then I'll be happy. When I've bought that new house, then I'll be happy. When I'm able to take a vacation, then I'll be happy. Whatever it is, we put the goal as the thing that generates the emotion, instead of recognizing that during the process of earning that $1 million, finding the way to buy that house, or going around and not just enjoying the time that we're on vacation, but actually finding the happiness in our day-to-day life. It's about finding how we can enjoy the process as well as the results. Because otherwise, what ends up happening a lot of times is you get the result and you check it off, and then you either discover that doesn't really give you the emotion, or if it does, our brains have a way of returning to the status quo. We'll talk some about that tomorrow. And when that happens, when we return to that baseline, we don't get that high anymore. And so we start looking for the next bigger, better thing. And therefore, we end up on this treadmill where the only route to success, the only route to happiness, the only route to joy is to constantly do more, to add more to our plate, more to our to-do list. Instead, one of the things, my productivity course is not called Do More. It's called Productivity for Your Passion. It's not about doing more things. It's about doing the right things. That's a shift in our thinking. It's about recognizing that it's not about the destination. It's not about the journey. It's about both. That shift in thinking is how I encourage people to find more balance and more harmony, because they begin to enjoy what's happening every day instead of only enjoying it when they check something off the list. That happens for all of us, because otherwise that day-to-day moment, that pain of not achieving the goal, or that pain that comes from achieving it and then discovering the results are not all that we wanted, ends up causing us to just constantly be on that treadmill of doing more and never really getting to success, when in reality, we achieved success long ago. We simply forgot what it looked like. We simply forgot that we'd gotten to the end of the journey and that we'd been on a journey all along, and that we could have gotten in touch with that emotion, that feeling, that success, those results long before we got to the end of the process. This happens with people on money goals. This happens with people on business goals. This happens with our relationship goals. It happens in all components of our life, and it affects how we do things. It affects how productive we are, and it affects our emotional life as well. In this process of learning to enjoy both the journey and the destination, of focusing on the results of the goal, but also the emotion of the process, you can find a place of real harmony. Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Inspired Stewardship podcast. As a subscriber and listener, we challenge you to not just sit back and passively listen, but act on what you've heard and find a way to live your calling. If you like this episode on the stewardship of time, be sure to sign up for our Stewardship of Time Tips series by going to inspiredstewardship.com/time or texting 44222 time tips, and that'll get you our best tips on stewarding your time. Until next time, invest your time, your talent, and your treasures. Develop your influence and impact the world.